Varanasi. It's a city you think of as peaceful, right? All that spirituality, the incense, the Ganges.
Mm.
But back in November, a couple of years ago, the air was thick with something else. Shock. Disbelief.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this city everyone thinks of as serene became the scene of a brutal crime. A man was found dead in his office.
Oh, gosh, that's awful.
It is, and it gets even more complicated. This wasn't just any man. It was Rajeev Tiwari, the love guru.
Oh, the Love Guru. I've heard of him. Wasn't he like some sort of relationship advisor?
He was. People came from all over to see him, looking for advice, answers. He offered this unique blend of psychology and spirituality.
Huh. I guess a lot of people are looking for that kind of help, especially when it comes to love.
That's for sure. But it's the contrast,
Mm.
this image of peace and then violence. And the victim, someone people saw as an expert in love, ends up a victim of something so dark.
Yeah, that's I guess that's what they call irony, right? It's almost like I don't know, a betrayal of expectations or something.
It is. And there's another layer to this whole thing. There were always these whispers about Rajeev, rumors about inappropriate relationships with clients.
Oh, really? So there's a hidden side to all this. Makes
Yeah.
you wonder about his motivations, right?
Exactly. It was like there was this shadow beneath the surface of the love guru persona.
Yeah.
And this murder, it wasn't random. It was driven by something very human, very powerful. Jealousy.
Jealousy. So we're talking love triangle, someone scorned.
Welcome to CrimePod Castle's Twisted Love series. Picture this. A young shopkeeper, Nikhil Singh. He was completely in love with a woman named Meera Sharma. Head over heels.
Okay, I'm picturing it. So where does the Love Guru fit into all of this?
Well, like a lot of couples, Meera and Nikhil hit a rough patch. And Meera, she was looking for answers, so she turned to Rajeev, the love guru.
Uh-oh. I bet Nikhil wasn't too happy about that.
You got it. Nikhil was immediately suspicious. He was convinced that Rajeev was manipulating Meera, trying to, come between
He
them.
saw Rajiv as a rival then.
Exactly. Nikhil felt threatened, like his whole future with Meera was in jeopardy. And those seeds of jealousy, they took root, started to grow.
And we all know where jealousy can lead. Bad places. It twists your thinking, makes you do things you wouldn't normally do.
Absolutely. Witnesses even talked about heated arguments between Nikhil and Rajeev. You could see the rage building in Nikhil.
This Love Guru, did Nikhil see him as some kind of con man, or was it more about this hold he seemed to have over Meera?
Honestly, I think it was a mix of everything. Nikhil was hurt, confused, and desperate. He wanted to save his relationship, and Rajeev, he was the obstacle.
It's like a powder keg, isn't it? Love, betrayal, that desperate need to control things. Sounds like it was about to explode.
So Nikhil, he's convinced Rajeev's a problem. What happens next?
Well, remember all those rumors about Rajiv and his clients?
Yeah, the whispers about those inappropriate relationships definitely didn't sound good.
Yeah, and once the police got involved, those whispers got a lot louder. They started digging into Rajiv's past.
What did they find? Turns out it wasn't just gossip. There was actual evidence. Clients came forward, talked about feeling used, manipulated.
Wow, so it wasn't just Nikhil's jealousy then.
Right, it added a whole new layer to things. Makes you wonder if Nikhil felt like he was protecting Meera in some way.
Yeah, like some twisted kind of hero complex.
Maybe. But whatever his intentions, Rajeev was still dead. And the evidence all pointed to Nikhil.
What kind of evidence are we talking about?
Fingerprints everywhere. On the murder weapon, a knife, a broken picture frame, even the doorknob to Rajiv's office.
Oh, that's not good. Anything else?
There was more. Remember, Nikhil was convinced Rajeev was manipulating Meera. Well, the police found these text messages.
Text messages between Nikhil and Rajiv.
Exactly. Weeks of messages. Nikhil threatening Rajeev. Talk about anger, resentment, even promises of revenge.
That's pretty chilling. Sounds more like premeditation than just a crime of passion.
It does, doesn't it? And get this, one of those messages sent just hours before they found Rajeev.
So we got motive, physical evidence, and now these threatening texts. They had a pretty solid case.
They did. But there's one more piece. Nikhil confessed.
He confessed to the whole thing.
He did. All that pressure, the evidence, he finally cracked. Admitted he went to Rajiv's office that night, said he wanted to confront him, tell him to stay away from Meera.
So, like, he just snapped.
That's what he said. Said things escalated. Argument turned into a fight. And in a moment of rage, he stabbed Rajeev.
Okay, but those texts...
I know, right? The prosecution jumped all over that. Said those messages, those weren't empty threats. They were proof this wasn't just a heat-of-the-moment thing. It was planned. Cold-blooded.
What about Meera? Where does she fit in all this?
It's actually pretty heartbreaking. She was devastated by Rajiv's death, of course. But Nikhil's confession, that tore her apart.
It's like sometimes the people we think we know, it's scary. Like we're blind to who they really are.
It's true. The whole thing, it really shook the community. They went from being captivated by Rajeev to facing this dark side of human nature.
So what happened at the trial?
Oh, man, it was intense. You had the prosecution with all that evidence, fingerprints, the text, the confession. They were pushing hard for a conviction. Said it was clear-cut, premeditated murder, driven by jealousy and this need to get rid of a rival.
And the defense.
They tried a different approach, tried to make Nikhil seem human, painted this picture of a young guy, blinded by love, desperate.
So like a crime of passion.
Exactly. They said those texts, just empty threats, just him venting, not serious.
So it was a battle of stories then.
Basically, the evidence was hard to ignore. But the defense was playing to the jury's emotions, trying to make them sympathize with Nikhil.
Wow, tough call for the jury. What was the verdict?
It took them a while.
Yeah.
But in the end, the evidence was just too much. They found Nikhil guilty, sentenced him to life.
It's just such a tragic end to the whole thing. Started with love and spiraled into this.
It really makes you think about how destructive jealousy can be, right? Like, we got to recognize those warning signs in ourselves and others.
Couldn't agree more. This case is a stark reminder that love can go wrong, Communication, understanding, those things are so important.
It's true. Sometimes asking for help, that's the best thing you can do. For yourself, for your loved ones, it can make all the difference. It's tough to reconcile, right? This peaceful city everyone knows, and then this dark, heartbreaking story unfolds there.
It really is. This whole Varanasi Love Guru case, it makes you think about all the different ways love can manifest. The good and the bad, the devotion, the obsession, the desperation.
Exactly. We spent a lot of time talking about Nikhil, his jealousy, the anger that led him to murder. But there's this other aspect, a different kind of love that kind of got overshadowed in all of this. Mira's need for guidance, her search for answers.
It's true. She was vulnerable, looking for help. And on the surface, it looks like Rajeev might have been taking advantage of that, using his position to manipulate people when they were at their weakest.
It does, doesn't it? And that brings up a lot of questions about the whole guru-client relationship, the power dynamics, the trust, the way people seek these quick fixes for their problems, especially in matters of the heart.
It's human nature, I guess, right? Wanting those easy answers, someone to tell us what to do, especially when we're hurting, confused.
It's so relatable. And that's part of what makes this case so disturbing. It shows how easily someone can be manipulated, how that need for love and connection can be exploited.
You start to see those warning signs, I think. The importance of questioning things, not taking someone's word for it just because they call themselves an expert.
Absolutely. It's about learning to trust your gut, your own instincts, even when you're feeling vulnerable and lost.
It's about looking inwards as much as outwards, figuring out your own values, your own needs.
This case, even with all the tragedy, it highlights those essential truths about human connection, doesn't it? The light and the shadow.
Definitely. It forces us to confront the darker side of love, the ways it can go wrong. But it also shows the strength of the human spirit, that ability to heal and grow even after experiencing something awful.
And that's such an important message, isn't it? Even in the darkest times, there's still hope. There's always a chance to learn, to understand, to offer compassion.
That's what makes these conversations so powerful. They push us to look deeper, to think critically, to come away with a better understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
Well said. This deep dive into the Varanasi Love Guru murder, it's been a journey for sure. We've seen the complexity of love, the devastating effects of jealousy, and how crucial self-awareness and good judgment really are.
It's a story that will stick with me.
Me too. And for everyone listening, if this case has resonated with you in any way, if you're struggling with difficult emotions, or if you're worried about someone you know, please remember that you're not alone. There is help out there. Don't be afraid to reach out.
It can truly make all the difference.
And with that, I want to thank you all for joining us on this deep dive into the Varanasi Love Guru murder.
It's been a heavy one, but an important one.
It has. And don't forget to follow and subscribe to CrimePod Castle and our YouTube channel. We'll be back next week with another twisted tale that's sure to keep you on the edge of your seat. Until then, stay safe and stay vigilant.